Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kate. I love all things makeup, skincare, and fun. If you love springtime and if you love eyeshadow, then this is going to be the video for you because we're going to be talking about, in my humble opinion, the 10 best eyeshadow palettes for spring. If you enjoy this kind of content, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I would love it so much if you would subscribe to my channel down below. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I love springtime and I also love eyeshadow palettes. I'm not somebody that is a minimalist in any sense of the word. Any part of my life is just not super easy peasy, minimally. But I did want to curate this collection to be only 10 eyeshadow palettes. Some of these are pastels, but I wanted to make sure that I included palettes that I want to reach for when I'm feeling a grunge or when I'm feeling a neutral look. So there will definitely be some pastels in here, but there will also definitely be some different, more funky and more neutral options. I hope that you don't take this video as me telling you need to go buy things. I don't think we necessarily need to do that. I think what makes good sense is that we shop our stashes and shop our collections and see what we have. You might have some of these, you might not. You might have something that's different, but that works better for you. But I did want to share with you my top 10. So let's go. Up first, we have this one here by Glamlight. This definitely has pastels in it. This is one of the cutest eyeshadow palettes in the world. I like the fact that it's an ice cream cone. So this is called their Ice Cream Dream palette, and this is what it looks like. So definitely has those pastel tones, but also really has some poppy bright punches. I've actually already worn this once this year. This is a palette that I get a lot of use out of because I personally love pastels and brights for the spring and summer. That is what you're gonna see me wearing. If you see someone looking like a clown walking around in New England, just let me live. Just let me live my life. Pay me no mind. I mean no harm. I just love color. I think though that if you're somebody that likes a pop of color, this palette is nice in the way that it does offer some more neutral shades. Not a lot, so I don't think if you primarily wear neutrals, I just don't think necessarily this palette is going to be for you. But if you're somebody that likes pops of color, or if you are looking for like pops of color with the occasional neutral look, I think that this palette's great because it does have this little section right up here where there's definitely some neutral tones. I just love this palette. Glamlight constantly has deals, and there are some folks on here that create content that have affiliate links that you can definitely use to get some money off. But I love this palette, and I'm so grateful that I have it in my collection. Next up, I have a palette by Lethal Cosmetics. This is a Germany-based indie brand. This is their After Dark Pressed Shadow Pigment, Pressed Pigment Palette. So this does have, of course, pressed pigments, hence the name, but that means that some of these in the USA are going to be considered not safe for the eyes. That means they're going to stain. I have used this palette a number of times, and I can confirm this pink specifically stains. It stains. So I strongly recommend wearing some kind of an eyeshadow base. I find that for me really helps prevent some of that staining. I also am not someone who has super sensitive eyes, so that doesn't bother me too much. I would rather have stained eyes that I can then paint over than have boring makeup. That's where I'm at. So this palette doesn't have any pastel shades other than maybe this one, but it definitely has some really bright pops. I like this one because it's a rainbow palette without being an actual rainbow palette. It has some really special multi-chrome shades. I'm not sure if you can see them. My lighting is pretty terrible. But this really is just such a beautiful palette. I always look forward, since I've gotten this, I have always looked forward to being able to play with this in the spring and summer. I think it's one of those palettes too that's going to be a nice transitional piece in the way that if you're looking for those neon, really bright pops in the summertime, this has it. But if you're also looking for those maybe a little bit more subdued, brighter colors, this has it too, with really special shimmer shades. I also like that it has this white, so if you get a little bit too much pigment, or if you are creating a look and it comes out a little brighter than you wanted, I like that it has the white so that you can kind of subdue the look just a little bit. For those of you that like more of a neutral springtime eye look, I really think that the Utopian Dream palette by Pat McGrath is going to be right up your alley. If you have this one, this is your friendly reminder to pull it out of your collection. This is what it looks like. I love this palette. I just think these shades here, the shimmers specifically, 1, 2, 3, are really special. They totally transform the eye. You can layer them on top of the mattes and on top of the regular shimmers, and it really just does such a beautiful job transforming the entire look. You can also take one of these really special shades and just use that to go all over the lid, and it creates such an ethereal fairy princess look. I love this palette. I almost included the Divine Rose palette, but I feel like this one with this purple shade, and you can kind of see it's a duochrome. Stunning. I just felt like this one really took the cake as far as spring vibes. These are super expensive. I would not in any realm pay full price honestly for Pat McGrath palettes, because she runs sales all the time. I'm not saying that they're not worth it, so if you have bought them at full price, I have too, I'm right there with you. My point being, she runs sales all the time, 30-40% off. So if you can wait just a little bit until she's running one of those sales, I honestly think that is the way to go with buying her palettes. Next up, I picked out my Enchanted palette by Sigma. This is an oldie but a goodie. It is so beautiful. It reminds me truly of a fairy garden. I just don't think that I've ever seen such a fairy, ethereal, witchy, cottagecore vibe palette than this. I really enjoy that it does have some of these darker shades so that you can really create a grungy, more deep look if you want to, but these shimmers are also really special, mixed with some really soft mattes, so you can, again, create a really soft, ethereal look with this palette. This is your friendly reminder, if you have the Enchanted palette and it's collecting dust, dust her off, get up, dust her off, and play with her. She's so pretty and perfect for spring. Would it really be a Kate spring eyeshadow palette recommendations video if I didn't include this one by Nomad? Would it? I don't think it would. I don't think I can find the name of this one, which is for the best because I cannot pronounce it properly and I don't do it justice. But at any rate, this eyeshadow palette is the spring eyeshadow palette. This is spring in a palette. This is absolutely a pastel palette. It's like straight pastels. The only thing that's a little bit different about this one is that it does have these two gray tones here. I love the shimmers. These are really special too, similarly to the Pat McGrath, in the way that you can take these, spread them all over the lid, just one shadow, and have a really beautiful ethereal look. I love this palette. I'm so sorry. The lighting, the sun is in a really weird spot, so it's creating some shadows. I apologize. Back to the Nomad palette. These ones here in the middle are more of a cream to powder formula, so they're a little bit different to work with. I find stippling them onto the eyes, though, they are richly pigmented. They blend out really beautifully. I love this palette. I've had this for several years. It's still going strong. I cannot wait to dig into this for springtime. I promised you guys that I would recommend a grungy spring eyeshadow palette, and that is where Fairy Frolic by Unearthly Cosmetics comes in. I actually just got this palette, so it's pretty new to me. I have played with it though. I loved the look that I was able to come up with. So I love green in general, but in springtime, I feel like I really love green. I live in the Northeast where all winter and fall, there's not a single green thing outside. So when things start to liven up and come back to life, green makes me think of spring, and I love all three green shades in here. I also really love this beautiful, like orangey, a little bit more subdued orange yellow. So stunning. I just love this palette. I love a 9-pan. 9-pan I think is probably my favorite size palette, just because it's small enough that I feel like I can do several looks without being overwhelmed. I really love Unearthly's formula. I find that they are super pigmented but super blendable. Their shimmers are super special. They have so many palettes with multi-chromes. I love Fairy Frolic. I just feel like she's perfect for spring, and like the packaging, it's a whole experience, guys. And you know I love a good experience. Next up, we have a palette by Blend Bunny Cosmetics. You might know this one. You might love this one. She just came out this year. This is the Lure palette. So Blend Bunny, in general, I feel like they have a palette for every season, and it's a perfect palette for every season. This one is the spring version. I just feel like they did such a beautiful job with these shimmer shades. They're really special. These pastel shades are absolutely beautiful, but then if you want something that's a little bit more bright, a little bit more poppy, you can definitely go right into these. These are like stark and beautiful, or if you want to create depth, they have a whole row for depth. I just feel like Blend Bunny does such a good job at creating really thoughtful, creative palettes that we don't have on the market, and the formula is top notch, which I think honestly, like those three factors attribute to their success. That, and they do such a nice job of posting people that create content using their palettes. Like, that's just so thoughtful. Like, totally don't have to do that, but I really admire the creators and people that work for this brand. I just feel like they're so wholesome. Same with Nomad, honestly. Whenever I post on their stuff, they always comment back, which is just so sweet. Or if I like post on my Instagram talking about the palettes that I buy from them, they always comment and say something really sweet. It just makes me feel good. You know, I just love that. All right, so I do have a couple more pastel palettes. Bear with me, they're not all pastels. So first I wanted to mention this one by Natasha Denona. This is her pastel palette. It literally says pastel in the name. However, this is beautiful. If you love pastels, I feel like spring is your time to shine. We can wear pastels, honestly, anytime we want. There's no rules to makeup in that way. There's no rules to makeup in general. There's theory, as Robert Welsh would say, but anyways, I digress. I just love this color story. I think it's beautiful. I think it's special. The shimmers are that typical special Natasha Denona shimmer. I love this shade right here. This is called Zest. Appropriately named. I just love this. I do enjoy too that it has this darker purple, because typically when I'm doing some kind of a purple look, I do need a little bit of depth. However, I also appreciate that it's not an actual rainbow palette, but it has colors that work really well together, but that are also pretty contrasting, so I can create a really colorful, pretty pastel look. I just love this palette. It's just too good. It's too good. This is the last pastel palette. I promise. So again, it has pastel in the name. This is by Give Me Glow, and this is their Pastel Dreams. Again, would it be a Kate Mercy spring eyeshadow palette haul without this palette? Look at this. Look at this. It's literally an Easter egg dream. I love this. First of all, the pans are absolutely huge. I will say Give Me Glow has more of a thin formula, which I think honestly probably works out for more people, because if you're somebody that doesn't love really intense eye looks but wants like a soft wash of color, I think this formula is perfect for that, because it definitely is more buildable than some of my others, like my Unearthly ones, specifically Fairy Frolic. You're gonna get a pretty intense eye look from that palette, whereas this one, if you want a soft wash of color with the mattes or the shimmers, actually really just the mattes, because these shimmers, my friends, these shimmers are next level. Next level. Let me just swatch this. That's literally one swipe. Shimmers are out of this world, and then the mattes are definitely beautiful and buildable. I love this palette. I've had this for a couple of years now. Every single spring I jump into it and I just love it. So I think if you have this in your collection, definitely pull it out, because this is an Easter egg dream. If you've been on the fence about this palette, I definitely recommend it. I think it's beautiful. I think the formula is perfect for a range of makeup users. I just love this. We're down to our last two palettes. I'm going to save the one that you currently cannot get, nor will you ever be able to get it again, for last, because I don't want that to be like the focus, but it's also super special, and I think this is just a friendly reminder to pull it out of your collection. But first I want to mention the Soulmane 2 eyeshadow palette by Odin's Eye. This one I think is really special. I use this one. This is probably one of the most used palettes in my collection. I love purples, and I love purples and blues and greens together. So I just love these purple tones and these blue tones here. I love the way that they added these darker shades, both matte and shimmer, so that we can create depth. But then I also love this bottom row here that's like a little bit more fiery. I just think this palette is super special. I believe it is back in stock now on Odin's Eyes website. So if this is a palette that you've been on the fence about and you're just not sure, I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to be disappointed unless you don't like this color story. Which, in that case, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? This is beautiful. No, it's okay to have different opinions. Yeah, it's okay to have different opinions. I just love this palette. I use this, I would say, at least once a week. At least once a week I'm diving into this one because this color story really inspires me and really gets my creative mind going. I just love this and I think it's perfect. Perfect for spring. This last palette is also by Odin's Eye. Unfortunately, it's no longer available. It is their collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. I love the Gila palette. I love this palette so much. I'm bummed that it was limited edition because I feel like I talk about it a lot on my channel and we can't get it anymore. So that makes me really sad. However, look at this color story. Look at this color story. I love pinks and I love greens. This is the best of both worlds, my friends. The best of both worlds. Again, they have some more deep, kind of funky colors, so you can create some depth. It also has some really funky green shades. So again, this is just your friendly reminder. If you have this palette in your collection, you need to get up. Go on, get up and go get it because it's so good. It's so good. This is another palette that I play with very frequently. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do when I inevitably hit pan because these greens and pinks are just so special, so beautiful, such a makeup lover's dream to play with this palette. Again, if you have it, make sure you're loving on it because it's so good and it's perfect for spring. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would love it so much if you would subscribe to my channel down below. And as always, please stay happy, stay healthy, and stay blessed. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.